Hello, and welcome to RIME Entertainment Showcase with your hosts, Rita and Mel.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another great episode of RIME Entertainment Showcase. We're now on episode 27. Today we have a special guest, Mark Cousins, who is a singer, songwriter, music producer and DJ. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Welcome, Mark.
Hiya, how you doing? You good?
Good.
Thank
Yourself?
you for,
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah.
Good. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for
So,
having me.
you know, we're obviously going to talk about your journey, but what age did you discover your love of music and that you knew you wanted to venture down that path?
I first discovered music, I suppose, when I was like 5, 6, 7 years old. I discovered my mum and dad's record player in like the corner of their bedroom, and there was like a selection of records. It wasn't very big, but it had things like the Beatles in it, Johnny Cash, and Don Williams and people like that.
Right.
And then I found some tapes of Elvis Presley, and I used to just play them constantly. So that's when I first discovered music. And then I suppose it kind of just went on from there, really. I started to play the guitar from the age of about 13, 14. Hounded my mum for a guitar, and she finally succumbed. And then it went on from there, really. I suppose when I started to play the guitar, I also started to listen to a lot of my sister's music as well, which was, she was 5 years older than me. She was already into like the acid house genres. She was listening to Depeche Mode and stuff like that, and so I was influenced by that music as well. And then by going to school and starting to swap tapes from raves and stuff like that with mates, that was when I got hooked into like rave culture and that music and that, the whole atmosphere. And I couldn't understand how they were getting all these bits of records and these samples and putting them all together, and there was all this energy, and I just wanted to know. I needed to know how that was going to be put together, you know, and how they were doing it and that. And so that just blew my mind, and it went from there, really. It was quite a few years after that before I started making any music, like electronic music. But I'm playing the guitar and writing songs from, sort of 15, 16, I suppose.
Amazing. So when did it trigger? Like, when was the trigger where you said, actually, I want to do this professionally and I really want to make this? Was it just a point where, okay, this is interesting, and then there was a flick of the switch where it was like, yes, this is now something I want to do professionally? Or how did that even come about?
So I suppose wanting to do it professionally I suppose it's the dream. But I lost my job in about 2006, 2007, and we went into a recession, and I decided to go to university full-time and do a music technology and audio system design course. And that kind of led me, as it would do, you immerse yourself in that world, you immerse yourself in education and learning, you get contacts with people. And it was shortly after that, really, I finished my course. I was there for 3 years, and then for the final year, I started doing some remixes for people. And that kind of gave me a little bit of a taster, and I started doing drum and bass more I suppose, intently. I wasn't, I was still an amateur, and my sound was very amateur, but I still really wanted to make tracks and hear them be played in the clubs. It kind of went on from there, really. I mean, I hounded people from that sort of point and sent them CDs and instant messages, and tried to get people to listen to my stuff all the time. I was told that I'd probably be better off in writing film scores and things like that, but I still just wanted to make drum and bass, so I persevered with it, you know. I went through that period, but also it wasn't really until about sort of 3 or 4 years ago, really, when I kind of said, right, it's time to dig in and hone my sound and practice my craft and make a go of it. I mean, the record label itself came into like the idea was born when at that stage when I was at university.
Yeah.
So Deploy the Music was born then, but it wasn't until another, say, 10, 11 years maybe before I released anything on the label. So yeah, it was when I started releasing on the label really that I decided that I wanted to push things. I'd had other releases with another label prior to that, Dread Recordings, which was a massive thing for me because that was like, you know, when I was said I was like listening to rave tapes on the bus on the way to school and that lot. These were the guys that were playing the music. You know, these were the record labels that the music was on, and yeah, to get on that label was massive for me.
Amazing.
Coming out of that and then starting my own label, that's when I kind of decided that if I'm going to do this, I need to start honing my craft. So yeah.
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah. I mean, just making that decision to start your own label is a big decision in itself. I mean, what inspired you to do that and say, you know what, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do that as almost like the beginning stage of then evolving, because a lot of people will probably put that last and then, you know, just continue making the music, but you chose to do the label.
I'm not sure it's a good thing. They say, don't they, you should run before you can walk sometimes. And yeah, it's just something I always wanted to do. I mean, I was cut back in the vinyl days. I cut a few dub plates, test presses and stuff like that. And that was a bit of a view to kind of putting out my own stuff, but it never came. It never got the momentum for me to do it. I guess it's just something I always wanted to do. The record label was always going to happen for me, one way or another. It was right from, you know, when I started getting into the music, into like hardcore and became drum and bass. That was something that I was going to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. That's just it. I'm a bit blinkered like that, I suppose, in a way. I'm a bit sort of one single track minded. Do you know what I mean? And so that's really it was going to happen.
Yeah, and I guess also the answer to that question is, well, why not?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Just do it. Exactly.
Yeah,
that's basically the way I know we roll like that as well. Just do it and see what happens. Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to pull the trigger.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what I love about it, and I'm sure you do too, is the fact that this was something you've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And you just went and you did it. And I think a lot of people hold themselves back and think, like I said in the question, almost like, you know, they make the music first and then they take that step into the next thing. But you were like, no, I've always wanted to do this. You just did it. And also the fact that you kept contacting people as well. You mentioned it, like in the earlier answer to the question, where you kept contacting people, you know, just sharing your stuff. I mean, again, there's a lot of bravery and a lot of confidence in that, because you realized your dream and your passion, and I think that's just great. I think that's an inspiration to many people, and I'm sure our audience will be inspired by that, because you didn't stop.
No, and there's always a lot of knockbacks. When you're putting your music out there in any art form. It's like when you're doing these video chats, you're doing your interviews with people, you know, there's always the feeling or the fear even that you might get knocked back, or you might get some negativity or something like that. But for me, if I put my music out there and I get one person either come up to me in the club and go, man, that tune's wicked, or you get a comment that says this tune's unbelievable, you know, or just one person likes it, that's the icing on the cake for me, you know.
Yeah.
For me personally, making the music in the studio is why I do it. It's a bit of a therapeutic process.
Yeah.
And then people liking the music and it's kind of, you know, getting involved with the music is purely icing on the cake for me. So
yeah,
that's good.
Perfect. Yeah, definitely. Just those comments just coming back, you know, we can definitely relate to that. As soon as there's any, and viewers, you know, feel free to put in some great comments for this show as well. But yeah, you know, when you do get feedback like that, it just makes it more worthwhile.
yes,
and you're doing it because you love it. Plus, it's touching people. And again, it could be a few numbers, but as long as it's getting out there. So
right.
Again, amazing.
Ultimately, that's what we're trying to do, aren't we? We're trying to inspire people through our art, and if that makes connections with one people or 10,000 people, it's doing its job, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's how I feel.
Definitely.
Well said. Yeah.
So moving on a little bit more into, you know, getting yourself out there, and obviously there's going to come, but you know, it comes with hurdles. Are you able to kind of go into maybe some of the hurdles that you faced during this time, and you know, maybe, you know, it might be even more recent? Are you able to go through that with us today?
Yeah, well, my biggest hurdle is my own mind.
Yeah.
You know, I've learned to overcome that now, more than ever. But before, for instance, negative talk, like we said, it can stop you from doing a lot of things. Sometimes you just have to pull the trigger and do something and get going before you know where you are. Things are rolling anyway. But yeah, for me, I've had mental battles. I've been through depression, not as bad as some, more than others, sorry. But I've come through that. You go through periods of time where you get knocked back from somebody, or you send somebody something and they don't even reply, maybe, you know, and I've kind of found that I don't put any emphasis on any one thing anymore. There's a lot of little things going on. We try to have a lot of little things going on, and then, you know, and if one of them comes good, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But for me, yeah, mainly the mental, overcoming myself, really, it's been my biggest hurdle. And I've learned that I've had people in the past sort of, for want of a better term, use my music as their own. And I've taken that now as a massive compliment, whereas before I took it it knocked me back. I mean, when I say it knocked me back for like months. You know, it wasn't just a few days, whereas now I bounce back pretty quickly. But it's a massive compliment to have somebody want to, you know, use your music in whether it's in a good way or a bad way. But the important thing is that you deal with that and you go forward with a clean slate and positive kind of outlook, I guess. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, do you find, obviously, throwing yourself into your music when you're having those low moments has helped, or do you find actually taking that step away and then coming back to it helps you in terms of those low moments that you get?
I mean, like I said earlier, for me, making music is purely therapeutic. So I can have the worst day and come in the studio at the end of it, and within half an hour of writing a beat or writing a pad or putting a vocal down or recording something, all is right with the world again. that is my method, I suppose. It is my output. If I'm having any kind of situation, whether it's really highs or really good highs or really bad lows, they come out in my music, and everything sort of evens out again, you know. So yeah, it's the studio that's kind of carried me through, and throughout my life, you know, I think at one point I did feel like, you know, I was looking for something before I really sort of concentrated on my music within myself, something to fulfill something. I went down over darker avenues to find that, but it always came back to music, and it always comes back to music. And,
amazing.
And that's why I feel now like I'm doing the right thing and I'm in the right place.
Definitely, yeah. And I guess once you've created your masterpieces, because again, your music's absolutely brilliant, it must feel, I don't know, like you get this adrenaline after. I'm just going to assume that that's what you feel after, because I get an adrenaline listening to it anyway.
That's awesome. Thanks very much. Yeah, in the studio, it's usually a vibe. It's you're vibing, you know. And afterwards, the weird thing is, you know, you go and listen to it in the car, or you go and listen to it on another system. But by that point, you've already got something else on the go.
Yeah.
That you're cultivating, or you've got an idea that's been put down. And so it's weird, because when you finish that track, you've already moved on to the next one. But yeah, in the studio at the time when I'm writing, it's pure, you know, it's pure buzz, it's pure energy. Whether that energy is dark or whether that energy is, you know, high, it's there.
Yeah, we can definitely.
And when it really happens, well, you're not really thinking about it. You're kind of in flow, you know?
Yeah. No, that's
awesome.
Because how important would you say it is to be able to get that particular niche bracket that you do? Because obviously I know you've done music in the past where you've done it, but you realized, you know, like drum and bass and that sort of, you know, you changed your style of music because that wasn't fitting for you. You just felt, no, this isn't me. You know, this is where I belong. You know, there are some people who probably will move into a music genre that they think, okay, that will sell more, therefore that will give me more publicity, and then therefore kind of stop what they're doing that they really are passionate about creatively. How important is it to make sure that you stick to that which you love making that music?
I mean, for me, if you're not doing what you love, what if the art form you're doing isn't what you love, it won't come across as being authentic. So either your soul will die, or eventually it will die out. There will be no consistency there. You know, if I didn't love what I did and what I do, I wouldn't have pursued it for so long. I'd have given up years ago, you know. So I think it's incredibly important to do what you love. And just to switch to a genre because you think it's going to make a bit of money isn't necessarily a great idea. But saying that, there's nothing wrong with dabbling either. If the music makes it, you know, there's nothing wrong with dabbling in anything, doing anything, you know, as long as your heart's in it, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
So important.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of like, because, you know, you're a singer and songwriter as well. I mean, when you write lyrics, I mean, what inspires you when you're putting your lyrics together with your music?
So my lyrics, I suppose, they're either from past experiences or present experiences, or sometimes even kind of fantasy kind of dreams that I might have had or something like that. It really is anything and everything. Sometimes my music and my lyrics kind of get a bit political. It's not intentional, but I suppose if that's what's on your mind and that's what's going to come out, it comes out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, lyrically, it could be anything. Past events, you know, especially those past events that scar you, you know, or that evoke a really deep emotion. then they're going to get written about, aren't they? And,
yeah.
Musically, it's whatever I'm inspired at the time. It could be, I mean, for instance, the other day I was listening to a Duran Duran track that, you know, it was incredible. Now, at the time, when it was around, I was like, Duran Duran? No. Now I'm listening back to it, I'm thinking, that's a really good track, you know, and you just listen to various different stuff, don't you? I mean, you know, listen to the charts, you know, current charts, and you might watch a film and hear a soundtrack and think, oh yeah, that's good, I like that, and then before you know it, you're in the studio and you're creating something along the same lines, you know.
Yeah. I think for us, well, especially for me, when I hear something on a film, I'm like, wow, that's really good. What's the soundtrack? Who did the score for this? I want to know all of that. But it's absolutely amazing just to get that inspiration from other sources. And when it comes to Duran Duran, well, fans, complete fans. Anything 80s is good for us.
So obviously you play live in clubs as well as a DJ.
Pre-COVID.
Obviously.
Obviously,
how is that different from working in the studio, and which would you say is your personal favourite?
I love them both for two separate reasons. I mean, when you're in the club and you're playing tunes, especially when you're playing your own music, you get to connect direct with people and see their reaction. I mean, I've been in clubs when they've been singing the lyrics to my track. I mean, that's immense. And you know, and somebody might come up to you and say, oh, I love that track, or you'd be on the decks and you're lost in mixing. Sometimes you can be lost in mixing, and then somebody peers over the top and goes, oh, I love this tune, and that's, you know, that's just connection, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what we all crave, isn't it? Connection with other human beings and unity, and that, you know, that's what I think this music's about.
Definitely.
So that is a totally different entity to then me creating in the studio, because me creating in the studio is totally self-indulgent, on a vibe, losing myself and fixing whatever might have happened in my day or week, what's going on right now, and so it's totally different. That's why it's quite interesting when, you know, I don't really talk about the content of my lyrics much, really, because I might write a lyric that means something totally different to how I wrote it to somebody else, you know. And I think that's a good thing, because I think that people should interpret it the way they want to interpret it, because then it's special to them. Whereas if I tell you it's about, you know, a dog going down the track and having a wee or something like that, it's not the same, is it? You know.
Exactly.
Sorry about that analogy.
No, but it's exactly it. And you might well want to write songs about that.
Fortunately, I haven't at the minute. Actually, I might. So you understand what I'm saying. I think it's important for other people to take away from the tracks that I make and interpret it how they want.
Yeah, and I think that's the beautiful thing about music, is it allows us to listen to a piece and make our own perception of it, our own journey of it. And if a piece of music can take you away on your own journey, then to me, I think that you've hit that nail on the head, which we, you know, when we listen to your stuff, I mean, obviously listening to your latest piece, which viewers you'll get to hear at the end with the credits, but you know, that took me and Mel on a separate journey. You know, I was seeing things like planetarium and stars and, you know, kind of things, and Mel was on a different journey.
I was dancing.
You know,
but it was brilliant.
But that's really cool, because it's crossed over to like both places, like, so you can sit there and listen and get lost in it, and then also you can dance to it and lose yourself in it as well. That's fantastic. Thanks.
Yeah, no,
definitely.
So I mean, just share with our viewers, what are you currently working on at the moment?
There's more vocal stuff to come from me. I've got a sort of an alias, Dylan Wild, that I do my vocals on. That's coming as an EP coming for that. There's a lot of singles that I'm going to release this year.
Excellent.
We're gathering some momentum, and I'm in a place where I'm able to write down what I actually want to write down, whereas, you know, years gone by, you kind of, I want to do this. I've got this sound in my head and I want to put it down, but it never comes out like you want it to.
Yeah.
But it is now. So, yeah, things are flowing really well.
Good.
So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a few projects and that haven't quite come into fruition yet, so I don't really want to talk about them in case they don't. But yeah, there's definitely an EP on the way this year, and probably a couple, and loads more singles. So
Brilliant.
Amazing.
I look forward to it.
Absolutely. Right. So, I mean, you know, you've got Deploy Music, so that's your music production side, and then we've also got Dylan Wild Music. Can you tell us the difference in what is it totally different in terms of Dylan Wild's just singer and songwriting, and Deploy Music is the music production, or what is it going to be, a whole entity at some point?
I've always had this vision of doing drum and bass live. Still want to do that, you know, right back from when, you know, Ronnie Size was doing stuff live with Represent. You know, I've always wanted to do that. Deploy is my production and DJ persona, if you like, and Dylan is my singer-songwriter persona, just as you quite rightly explained. The thing with Dylan was that I was doing some vocals for a guy back along, and we were writing some stuff, and he said you should have another name so that you can collaborate with people as a vocalist. So that's how Dylan Wild came about, and how the two are going to get merged together? Yeah, hopefully at some point. But you know, the thing is about Dylan is that he can do anything. He can go and write a song on the guitar, and, you know, acoustic track, and be free to release that. And also that's what the label's about as well. Although I'm doing predominantly drum and bass, it's about anything.
Amazing.
You know, I can release anything I want on that label, and that's the beauty of it. I can do what I want, which is, you know, you're free to create whatever you want, which is really good. So yeah, I think that's where we're at with those, and hopefully one day we'll get some kind of live thing together. But at the minute, there's definitely momentum gathering with the studio production. So, you know, I think that's where it's going at the moment.
Perfect. Very cool.
Yeah, I
love it.
Yeah. So, you know, you've touched on quite a few things there in terms of just, you know, doing what you love, and, you know, just never giving up and just going for it, and, you know, just letting your passion speak, which has definitely come across in this interview. But what we like to ask our guests is inspiring them a little bit more. So what 3 tips would you love to share with our viewers, especially for those who are thinking of, you know, moving into the music industry but aren't feeling confident already yet?
Finish music. Music. Doesn't matter if nothing I ever do is finished. So none of my tracks are finished, but sooner or later you have to draw a line. And that's what one of the biggest things is, to finish tracks, move on. Take stuff from them, whether it be, you know, things you've learned or even sounds, cultivate that, move it onto the next one, and keep going until you've got some techniques and some sounds together. And the same with if you're a vocalist, practice, record a little bit, practice some more, record a little bit, and just keep cultivating that. Keep turning it over. Don't get stuck on the same track for weeks, months on end, because you won't really learn anything from it. I mean, I've been there, I've done it, much to my dismay now. But yeah, that is the number one, I would say. Possibly not the number one, but one of the, the biggest things I could say. When it comes to setbacks, so we call this number two then, yeah? When it comes to setbacks, when it comes to people either not returning your calls or answering anything, people are busy. People have their own businesses to run. They have a lot of music to listen to. They have personal lives as well. Be courteous, be humble, and be persistent. Because if people really, really want to listen to your music, and if you really love what you're doing, it will get out there sooner or later. And people will listen to it. It might be the next day, it might be a couple of weeks, but people will listen to it. Not all of them, but most of them will. So yeah, so I guess that's number two. Number three, have a really good group of people around you that want you to get on, and that you want to see get on as well. It has to be reciprocated. Yeah. It can be one person, it can be 5 or 10, but there's a lot of people around that will want to take rather than give to you. Yeah. And it's important that you've got the right people around you. Incredibly important. Yeah. I would say probably that's, right up there. With, and if you haven't got those people around you, reach out, write the music, reach out, find the people that you look up to, find the people that whose sound, whether it be vocal, whether it be production-wise, that you love, and work on emulating on that sound. My stuff sounds like some people that I'm influenced by. It's going to, just work on getting stuff out there. And
perfect.
Yeah,
amazing, love it.
Yeah, really inspirational. And I think you touched on a really valid point there about having that support, which is so important, because especially during those ups and downs, to celebrate your wins and to also talk about those difficulties. And I'm glad that you have that, and I'm glad that I have that too.
Yeah. Definitely. So this is your time to really plug yourself now, Mark. Where can our viewers go to find out more about you and your upcoming music?
So the best place to go is to deploythemusic.com. All my socials are on there, and that will direct you to the Facebook page, the Instagram, the Twitter, and everything else you need to know is on there. So you go to deploythemusic.com and you should be able to find what you need.
Excellent.
Amazing. Well, Mark, thank you so much for being such an awesome guest.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's been
no worries. We can't wait to hear more of your music. And viewers, you are now going to hear In My Head by Deploy. So look forward to that. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for more RIME Entertainment Showcase.